Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello everybody and welcome along for the Simwear Porsche Cup here at Imola this evening for round 3, and things will be hotting up in this championship. My name is Ashley Denman and alongside me this evening is the wonderful Aaron Smith. Aaron, brilliant to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, thank you Ashley, and I've been called wonderful. That's a very lovely compliment there from Ashley. And don't forget, we've also got Joshua Wilkie here, the production man, the one who's doing a lot more than we are, to be honest. He's pushing all the buttons, showing you all the replays and whatnot, so he should be having a lot of fun today with, of course, the Porsche Cup Simwear Championship. The first 2 rounds have been quite good so far. I don't know if you have caught up to speed, Ashley, on what has been happening, but last time out at Spa was just an amazing day of racing all round. So close finishes in both races, and we had winners of Barber and Peters respectively, and I hope today will be much more of the same.
Yeah, I'm very much hoping for that as well. I also did have a look at the very first round where I think Barbar just absolutely ran away with it and picked up 2 easy wins by the looks of things. He is currently the leader in the standings at the moment, and then Kloppman and Postrom second and third, not too far behind either. But we're finally getting to see some cars out on the circuit. They're just finishing up practice here. They've got just about 7 minutes left in this session, and we can see there Kloppman actually leading the timing standings on that tower there, 1:43.345, and I'm looking forward to this one. Imola is one of my more favourite circuits. I'm not sure about you on that one, Aaron, but you do tend to find, particularly for this sort of GT style car, this Porsche Cup that we're using, you do tend to get a lot of good side-by-side action, don't you?
Oh yeah, you really do. I mean, Imola, like lucky for you, is literally my favourite track in the world. It's just absolutely perfect. I do understand that some people don't like it for racing purposes, and I guess in faster cars, this is kind of the limit where you can get some good racing around here. But if you're doing F3 or, up to that kind of point, even GTPs, racing can be a bit scarce, and it starts to be a little bit more about strategy than will-to-will action. But to hot lap, to just purely drive the car, I don't think many tracks get close to Imola, and especially if you go and somehow get lucky enough to drive around this track in real life, it's just an absolute beauty. And every single person that comes here always has good things to say about it. Of course, gone through many changes over the past few decades. It used to be one of the fastest tracks on the Formula 1 calendar, and nowadays it's relatively average. The first sector used to be completely flat out, and God forbid what that would have looked like if we were still racing around it nowadays. But of course, Tamburello and Villeneuve are now relegated to chicanes after the just calamity that was 1994. And well, it's still a fantastic track nonetheless, and I can imagine shoving a Porsche Cup round here probably feels absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. It would feel gorgeous, I think, to even have a chance to get one of these cars, let alone fire it round this circuit. It's steeped in history, really, isn't it? It's just oozing it out of every turn, and like you say, particularly sort of that first sector, the chicanes, Tamburello, Villeneuve, even down towards the hairpin of Tosa. Good overtaking opportunity there as one of the cars spins in the background as we're just having a look on board here with Depat, currently in 6th for the moment for his practice session. Just finishing these practice sessions off, aren't they? They're sort of getting their eye in for last minute prep, maybe having a few last minute tweaks of the setup as well, and getting their eye in, as I've just said, to try and go as fast as possible. And Imola, it's just fantastic. I'm struggling to find the words really to describe it, because it's just so good, isn't it, Aaron? And you've just said it's your favourite.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the first tracks I think I ever raced in any game. I had the old Formula 1 Career Challenge game on the original Xbox. God, what an interesting console that was. But yeah, I mean, Imola in those old Formula 1 cars was just a dream. And in these Porsche Cups, it's just as good. And this modern layout, I can't imagine them changing it really anytime soon. It is just absolute perfection at the moment. But now focusing more on the series specific stuff tonight. Of course, the format, if you need reminding, we've got a 10-minute qualifying session, which is open to the field, I believe. So everyone won't be on their own. It will be all the cars out on track at the same time. And that should throw a little bit of a spanner into the work. Maybe have to think about slipstreaming one another to get that little boost in speed. And then after that, we've got two 30-minute races, and that should provide some fantastic action as well. I don't think they have to worry about pit stops at all. I think 30 minutes is just fine for these guys to get through, no problem at all. But I do not think we're going to get as close finishing as we did at Spa I think it was about 3 weeks ago. But Imola is still going to be good nonetheless. We've been here a couple of times when we run the own Porsche Cup series on Apex Racing TV, and every single time it's been absolutely amazing, and usually does go right down to the wire every single time.
Yeah, I can imagine it absolutely does. Particularly, you just mentioned there qualifying, it being an open session as well. It feels like a long circuit. I've got here 4.9 kilometres or just over 3 miles, but in actuality, it isn't that long at all. And with, I think, about 28 cars, I don't think everyone's quite in just yet, potentially up to 28 cars lining the grid here, you could find yourself in a bit of a traffic jam. So that could be a bit of a hindrance. Like you said, maybe picking up that slipstream effect as well to sort of help you nudge yourself forward and gain a few extra kilometres down, particularly that start-finish straight. You're entering turn 1 of Tamburello around about 260, just over that kilometre-wise, and then hard onto the brakes to try and nail that first sector. But it's a circuit that can throw up a lot of interesting scenarios. It is quite a technical circuit now with the extra chicanes thrown in after all the layout changes. You've got about 19 corners of 9 to the right and 10 to the left. And like you say earlier, the drivers, they always leave you with a smile on their face. And I think that's purely just down to the characteristics of this circuit. You know, lots of undulations, lots of challenging corners, but also very exciting and fun to drive at the same time.
Yeah, definitely, and it's one of the reasons I enjoyed this circuit so much, just because of the pure variety you have around here. You've got the kind of slow speed stuff, and well, we'll be able to actually take you through a lap of Imola just before we get into the qualifying session. We're here with Van Hout, who's currently in 4th, should be one of the top contenders for today. And like Ashley was saying, this long front straight, braking hard, not in a straight line though. Slight kink as you try to avoid those bumpy sausage curbs on the inside of Tamburello. This next corner though is completely flat out, and then coming down to the Villeneuve chicane, probably the hardest chicane on the entire track. Again, gotta watch for those big sausage curbs on the inside, but get as close to them as you can. And then the hairpin of Toza, a pretty decent overtaking opportunity on the track, probably the second best apart from turn 1. And then as you come up the hill towards turn 9 of Piratella, one of the most tricky to get right corners on the track, especially in these Porsche Cup cars. One of the highest speed corners on the track, downhill now to Acqua Minerale, where so many drivers have been caught out here, locking a brake, going too deep. You have to push track limits through there, and unfortunately we don't get to finish the lap as practice has just come to a close. But, well, we got halfway.
Yeah, halfway. It's nearly there, isn't it? Would have been nice to see how that finished off, but it was nice indeed while it lasted. Interestingly, Van Hout there is actually one of the replacement drivers in now. We have lost Grundelaars and Rubruck. Unfortunately have withdrawn from the series, so Van Hout and Mats Strand are the drivers to replace them. And they've also participated in Porsche Cups before, so they don't lack experience. And we saw their Van Hout 4th in that practice session, so clearly not lacking speed either. Other sort of change to mention is Vince Peters. He will now be driving for the Williams Esports Academy, so he is shifted over from becoming a permanent driver last time out of Spa, and he's already changed teams for this round here at Imola. So a few changes there, but not too much to mention, of course. And yeah, I think is this qualifying now underway, Aaron? Is that correct?
Yes, there's indeed qualifying underway, and I believe I just heard from Josh that we can potentially get the points up, if I'm hearing that correctly. And so we can start with the Pro so far, as we've only had 2 rounds this season, of course, so not too much to look into. But it's Aaron Barber currently leading the way. I think he has 3 wins out of 4 currently, and that's one way to start the season. The only other driver to get a win in Pro is Vince Peters, of course, winning the second race at Spa last time out, and a little bit of a change as well, as he competed in the real-life Spa 24 hours in a Citroen C1. I can imagine he's probably feeling a little bit more speedy today in a Porsche Cup. But the championship for Aaron Barber right now very much looking like a possibility. He's already 22 points ahead of his closest competitor of Klopman. But hopefully as the season goes on, it should get a little bit more competitive. And the rest of the pro field have got some catching up to do. And I believe we can move on to the amateurs now as well. And take a good look at that. And, well, hopefully should be a little bit more closer. But no, it's just as dominant as the pro category. It's a Van look at the moment. Again, 22 points ahead of Verstraetenen on 64 points there. Stephen Clay's in 3rd place. Van Limp's in 4th, and then Bayes in 5th. And, well, it's looking very dominant for both leaders in both championships. And we've got one more, of course, the Teams Championships. And let's see if that's any closer. No, it's not. It's Vortex at the top by over 50 points, just about by 51, ahead of ICSRG. They're in 2nd place. So all 3 championships at the moment looking somewhat dominant. I think you'd agree with me there, Ashley. But hopefully, like I said before, that can change as the series goes on.
Yeah, it certainly can do. We are only at the halfway mark, so once racing has wrapped up here this evening in a few hours' time, we'll get a lay of the land and sort of a rough idea how things will be looking onto the back half of the season. But like you've just said, Barber looking strong out at the top. But Klopman not far behind, and Peters obviously has won a race as well. You know, that top four, I would say, are looking very, very close indeed. So I don't think you can rule any of them out. But Barber at the top, stamping his foot of authority there, really, in a way. And he'll look to hopefully extend that lead, won't he, out front? But yeah, it's a good start for the season at the moment as we look to see a couple of these guys now potentially setting up their first flying run, or maybe just about finishing the first flying run, and we can see what sort of times people are setting. Klopman there immediately rising to the top of a 1:44 dead, and De Paap next across the line, 45.7, immediately beaten by Van Hoyt of 44.8. So yeah, lap times coming in thick and fast now, and we can sort of get an idea of where these guys are going to line up for the first race to come shortly after qualifying. Got just over 15 minutes still left to go though, long time.
It's an extremely long qualifying session, this one, and you could see at the start of this lap as well that Barber was getting a big old slipstream down the main straight, and that could be very, very important for one of his first qualifying laps. He's got, I believe that's Peters right up his chuff, just keeping tabs with him, and might be putting a little bit of pressure on him on this qualifying lap, which is definitely going to put a spin into things, as Peters looked very shaky there through Acca Minerale. Car was not having any of this at all as we head into Variante Alta, one of my favourites and least favourite corners on the entire track. It's very, you either hit it absolutely perfectly and it feels like the best corner in the world, or you get it completely wrong and you end up in the wall or get an off track, or even worse, a slow down. So very, very tricky through there. Then into Ravazza 1 and 2, the final two corners on the track. It looks like a pretty decent lap for Aaron Barber, and this could put him right at the top of the timing sheet. Could be quite close. He had a bit of an iffy sector 2, but the rest of the lap has looked also quick, and he has indeed gone into second, so just missing out on the top spot for now, as Klopman there going even quicker, and that was right behind Aaron Barber, and that surely has helped him along very, very nicely. And 0.4 of a second, that is absolutely huge. And everyone else, well, I mean, it's like we were saying before, it's a fairly short track in terms of length, and also just speed in general. These Porsche Cups usually are in the 150s or 2 minutes around most circuits, and wow, this is a huge gaps opening up already. We're 6 minutes into this session.
Yeah, still a long way to go, like you say there, Aaron. So we'll see how things pan out, but Klopman very much putting a time in early on that seems to be quite a bit above the rest, considering, you know, you've got Barber, Van Hoyt, Barber, one of those championship rivals for Klopman, of course, and you know, being 4/10 off so early on, it's almost a bit of a psychological effect in a way, because you do take that into consideration when setting up your runs, going round for another qualifying lap yourself, and you always feel like, well, I need to get another 10th here and there, and then that's when mistakes can start to creep in. And you do find that, you know, it's tricky to find that extra 10th all of a sudden when you're over driving the car. You really want to try and stay relaxed and on top of things. And well, the fact that Klopman's already put in a banker like such as that, you know, immediately says to the rest of the field that he's quite comfortable now, because he is at the top. He hasn't got to push it so hard, unless of course these guys can respond. But here comes Barber up to the line for a second run. Is it going to be an improvement? Let's find out. I don't think it is. Oh, it is. Big improvement. He actually goes, oh, Klopman immediately responds back. Oh, very brief indeed. Klopman back on provisional pole. This is going to be a battle in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the qualifying session that we definitely wanted to see, as don't count out Peters as well. He's just plopped himself into third place, still though about 3 or 4 tenths off the top two, who just look like the absolute strength of the field at the moment. And well, of course, they are the top two in the Pro Championship. Of course, Barber does have a big lead, and he just has a near perfect start to the season. But, you know, only 2 rounds in, still a fair decent ways to go. as Peter's one of the other championship potential contenders, as he is right now. I believe he is following Barber, but just backs off, potentially just getting back to the pits, as he's probably used up everything he can in this car on these tyres with the amount of fuel he has, and I believe everyone is resetting now back to the pit lane to give this one another shot, as Klopman's still going, still trying to improve on his provisional pole at the moment. He does look extremely quick round this Imola circuit, and on this lap he's looking good once again, but will it be an improvement for Klopman as he heads into Ravatta 1, hitting it nicely there? Got to use all of the track on the outside, then cut back in once again. Got to use all of the curbs, you just have to. But he comes back into the pits. Interestingly, chooses not to finish that lap and tows all the way back, and I'm sure he'll go for another run. But it's looking very, very good for the Dutchman right now, who just looks like an absolute weapon in that Porsche Cup car.
Yeah, he's certainly putting it to the best of his abilities, turning it into a weapon, isn't he? Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff from Klopman at the moment. Provisional pole. Barber second, Peters third, Van Hoyt is fourth, De Man fifth, De Pap sixth, Postrup seventh, and then we get to our first amateur driver of the evening, and that is Van Look, currently in P8. I mean, with such pace like that, you would almost consider him a professional, what he is able to do in that Porsche Cup car. We saw last time out in Spa, he was sort of replicating such fantastic speed and really sort of throwing a cat amongst the pigeons in terms of those pros, because he was able to keep pace with them and, you know, at times look very threatening indeed. So we'll look forward to hopefully seeing another race like that from Van Look this evening, as we are still riding on board with him at the moment. Sort of black livery with a nice electric blue stripe down the side. You've got the German flag in there as well for good measure, although he is from Belgium. He looks German to me anyway. It's a German. It must be.
It does look German. I don't know if that is meant to be the German flag or just an upside down Belgian flag. I might have to ask him at some point, and of course we don't want to mix up any flags, of course, as Van Look now begins another qualifying lap. Well, you can make or break it there at Tamburello. It really is one of the most tricky corners on the track. I mean, to be fair, every corner around here is damn near tricky. There's not really an easy breather at all. Every corner could catch you out, as that was very wide for Van Look. I think he just about kept it within the track limits, as now he goes through Toza, one of the more simple corners on the track, and I think that must have been an off track. He went very, very wide there. And, well, I'll be very surprised if this is a valid lap time, but he's still chugging along, still pushing on anyway. Oh, Carl stepping out slightly there through Piratella. That's not what you want through a high-speed corner like that. Now down into Acca Minerale. Do not over-push the car through here, otherwise it is game over. And the car just looks a little bit tail-happy on this lap. I don't know if it's just cold tyres or perhaps it's just the way he set up the car, but it does just look a little bit loose on the rear end through pretty much every single corner we've gone through so far. Nice through Variante Alta though, wasn't too bad through there, only 2 corners left. Can he improve on his lap time and stay in that amateur provisional pole? Down into Ravatta 1, looked decent through there as we head now into Ravatta 2, also looks pretty good through there. But like I said before, is this actually going to be even a valid lap time? Or is he just setting it up for another one? We'll see when he crosses the line if it's an improvement from Van Look at all. And I believe that lap time was indeed invalidated. And, well, he's going to have to do it all over again and still try and just bridge a gap between himself and Van Straetenen. As, oh, that's a big off for the man I just mentioned.
Yeah, Verstraeten there off at Acqua Minerale. That's probably one of the easiest corners in terms of losing the rear of that car, because you're braking all the way into that second right-hander before you come back up the hill. It has that sort of double apex to it, and you're constantly trailing the brake through the corner. So very easy to do in a way, because, you know, if you do just brake a little bit too hard... Oh, he's lost it again there. Yeah, once again, Tamburello, too much of the curb. Very much Yeah, too much of that sausage curve, isn't it? Just unsettling the car. Maybe we might see the Acqua Minerale once again, if not the end of the world. But it just, back to it, it is such an easy corner to lose the rear at. And like I say, I think that might be one of the corners to watch out for when going into the race setting as well, when you're trying to get potentially past another driver or just trying to outbrake your rival to maybe try and gain that little extra tenth or so, and before you know it, the rear steps out and it comes around and you're off onto the gravel. But he's collected the car back up now, Verstappen, and he's going once again. Let's see if he can get a lap together and maybe make an improvement. Currently P11, apologies, and he is second in that amateur category. You can see there on the tower though the sort of top speed of all the cars. Peter's there, 268 kilometers an hour. That was obviously down towards turn number 1. That's quite a high top speed. I wonder if he set the car up slightly different than maybe some of the others. That'd be interesting to see come race, won't it, Aaron?
Yeah, definitely, but I think some of them potentially could be skewed due to the slipstream that you will, of course, get the benefit of in this qualifying session if you are behind another car. That seems to add about 8 to 10 kilometers an hour on the back straight, so it can definitely aid you on a qualifying lap, as Klopman and Baba are separated by absolutely nothing at all, 0.008 of a second at the moment. As well, Klopman improves on his personal best to just bridge it ever so slightly more, and I think they're kind of getting to the limit, or close to, of what they can do in this qualifying session, as kind of 43.6 seems to be near or close to the limit of what they can actually do. I expect if they got a lap absolutely hooked up perfectly, we could probably see them into the 43.5s or 43.4s, but at this point they are just taking, hundreds or even thousands out of each corner just to try and gain that little bit extra on each other and just try and get ahead of one another on the grid, as it's so important for Baba to try and keep this pole, to keep his championship going. The momentum in a championship is so important, and with the season start that he's had, that's definitely what he wants to continue to do today. But he might have a hard contender in Klopman, as they both look near inseparable. They look almost the same. They are trading laps each time, but it just looks like Klopman has that tiny bit more. Will it be Baba as he comes across the line for this qualifying lap? Won't be this time round, and I believe he'll have about 1 or 2 more laps to try and get provisional pole, as everyone else just doesn't seem to have it. I mean, Peters, of course, we know so far this season has been on point, the only other driver in the pros to get a race win. The 4/10, that's quite a big margin round Imola.
Yeah, it is quite a gap to close up. And you were saying there, the Klopman Barber, not a lot to separate them. I think what they're now chasing is that perfect lap. Some people feel it's very ominous to try and actually chase it, because it almost feels impossible. But if you do get it, you are then very much a cut above the rest on your day, kind of thing. And Klopman Barber, they're now searching for, I think, that perfect lap to really make sure they hammer home that pole position. But like you say, almost inseparable. Their times are practically identical, as Van Hoyt, I think, just improved there slightly, stays P4, and Deman as well still in P5. We're looking on board here though with Peters for P3, currently on his outlap, so he is getting that car, the tyres at least, sort of warmed up, ready to go, getting his eye in, because we've only got 3 minutes left now, so it's pretty much do or die. He might get 2 laps in if he is lucky. If not, it might just be this final one. I think that's Barber he's actually coming up on in front of him, so he might try and get a cheeky bit of slipstream as he makes their way. Well, both of them make their way. It is Barber, look at that. Right on the money. Both of them making their way through Ravazza 1 and 2 now, though, to start another lap. Barber just about to finish one, so let's see if he improves on this one as he comes up to the start finish line, and then maybe we can keep an eye on Peters behind as he tries to pick up that slipstream and tow effect. Barber, no improvement. Peters now and Barber starting another lap. Barber's going to let it go.
I think Barber was on a cool down lap there, but then interestingly chose to give Peters the slipstream down the straight, which I must admit is kind of strange, but fair enough. He's leading the championship. He can do whatever he wants, maybe trying to give Peters a chance to get closer or leapfrog Klopman as well. I don't really know why he'd want to do that, as he'd lose out to Peters as well, but there you are. Might have to ask Bubba what on earth he was doing there. Maybe they know each other, maybe they're friends in real life and he just wanted to give him a helping hand. But we'll see if Peters can improve on his third place. It will need to be a big improvement. It will need to be near 0.4 of a second. It will need to be half a second if he wants to get onto provisional pole. But it looks like he's taking it awfully carefully through Acqua Minerale there. So I'm not sure this lap will be the one. I could obviously be completely wrong. Of course, he is a Williams Esports Academy driver and also competed in a Spa 24 Hours, so he knows a lot more about driving than me. But at least going through Variante Alta, that time he spun the car around and is choosing now to do donuts in the middle of the track.
Yeah, I think that might have given you a bit of sigh of relief there, maybe. You know, bigging him up and saying how much more experience he has, and yeah, he's just sort of lost it there a little bit. He's trying to get back underway. I think he has managed to now, but we'll jump on over then here to Postrom, currently in P7 then at the moment. Only 30 seconds left in this qualifying, so if you're running up to the line now, you might just get one more in. If not, that's qualifying done for you. This is your last chance to get a good lap in. And it is nice to see that blue and orange, sort of the classic Golf colours for the Porsche car there. Very nice, and obviously a hint of pink in there as well. Brilliant stuff. Through Acqua Minerale now goes Postrom, looking like it's very neat and tidy at the moment. I don't know if this is a full fly lap. It's looking quick so far, and up to the Arianti Valsa, clipping the curbs. Yeah, skipping over them really in a way. Qualifying done though. He ain't going to finish the lap. Well, there it is. Things are all wrapped up then for qualifying. I think Klopman did come out on top. Maybe we can get the results up in just a few moments' time. Aaron, looking forward obviously to the race, any maybe predictions you're thinking about?
It's very difficult to predict something, especially in such a close series like this, and especially Imola. It's going to be a difficult one to predict, but I hope it will be a close race for the top two.
Yeah, absolutely. But there we are. Cohen Klopman takes pole position away from his rival of Erin Barber, who will line up alongside him on that front row. Vince Peters will take third position, and Van Hoyt for fourth. Benjamin De Pape is fifth. Alongside him is Sebastian Deman. Ollie Postrom is seventh, and keeping him company is Mathieu Collin in eighth. Mats Sturdovic, we'll go with that, for ninth. Alongside him is the first amateur of Van Lurk in P10. Verstraeten is 11th and Clays is 12th, rounding off that first page. As we look a bit further down the grid then, for 13th position is going to be Anton Dupin, and Philippe Hertz is 14th alongside him. Sofriu 15th, with Van Limp keeping him company 16th. Matthias Jacobs 17th. Kim Behet is 18th, and rounding off the back is Kevin Decker's 19th position, and alone on that back row of the grid. But race to come very shortly indeed. I'm looking forward to this one. As Aaron has already said, it's his favourite circuit in the world, and it is certainly up there amongst one of my favourites as well. So I'm eager. I'm itching to get this race underway, because I do want to see some good close action, and I'm sure that is what we're about to find out and see, eh, Aaron?
I think we're also about to go green, so I'll let you take this one away.
Yeah, no worries at all. There's the lights. They're coming on now. 3, 4 and 5 getting ready, and they're off for the third round here of the Porsche Cup for Simwear. And it's a pretty good start there from Klopman. Barber trying to get a look down the inside potentially here for Tamburello at turn 1. Everyone else seems to be cleanly following him through. No real drama as of yet. Little slip there from the red and white car a bit further back in 5th position, but I think he got the move done anyway. And that's looking pretty clean for a start there, especially round here at Imola. These corners do get quite tight and come up on you thick and fast, but they're all still looking for those early positions. Should they be able to take them? There's one potentially there for the blue and white car. I haven't quite got the name, so apologies for all of that. But things are settling down pretty quick, and they seem to have all found their rhythm quite early as well. That's normally a good sign if they found the rhythm so early on in this race.
Well, there was Verstraeten there going for the move for the lead in the AMS. He's gotten ahead of Van Look, who is now down to second in the amateur position. And as well, we only had one driver who had an incident, and that was Anton Dupin, who we saw in the background have a spin at Tamburello. Everyone else, though, like you mentioned, has gotten away cleanly here in the first lap at Imola. Klopman had an absolute dream start. He's nearly a second ahead of Erin Baba as he's coming under pressure from Vince Peters. And usually I would say it's a stupid idea to go for a move into Ravazza 1, as you've got the longest straight known to man afterwards to just get re-overtaken. Well, honestly, if I was Vince Peters there, I was close enough, and he could have possibly gained the slipstream from Klopman in front, but he's choosing to sit back and go for the overtake, possibly now as we head down into turn 1, as he is looking for the move. It is quite easy to defend here at Imola. Track position is so important, but Baba seems to be holding on to that second place for now. But my God, Klopman, what a first lap from him. Got an absolute dream launch off of the line and is now 1.1 seconds ahead of Erin Baba. And this could look like an absolute dream walk for Klopman over these next 28 minutes. As we now look further back for some of the midfield battles. This is Van Hook trying to get past Postrup as he looks up the inside briefly into Tozer, but thought better of it and is going to stick behind for now. A couple drivers through Tozer there looking a little bit squirrely. Perhaps these colder tyres in this Porsche Cup just not giving these drivers the grip that they want, as Van Hook now goes for the overtake on Postrup, and Postrup is left out to dry, and that's a car going for a spin as well. That was De Man who's gone out of the race, and actually he's just about kept it out of the wall, and he's fallen all the way down now to 18th place, as Van Look now trying to keep ahead of Postrup as he overtook him when he went wide. And that was a very messy corner there at Piratella. We had about 3 cars there going wide, and of course De Man, who ended up losing out, as that was very wide there from Van Look. That could potentially be a slowdown if he's not careful.
Yeah, potentially, but he's still all up on the rear of the next car. We're going to get a replay then. Hang on, let's have a little look-see here. What happened to De Man up towards Piratella? See the 2 cars battling there in the foreground. Oh, gets on the grass. De Man does the same thing. Clips the grass with that rear right tyre, and that is the result. Oh, look how close that was. Absolutely insane. Lucky to keep it out of the wall and still in one piece. He'll continue on, of course, down at the back. But still in this race, and it is very early doors, so maybe we can see him try and make a bit of a comeback. But at the moment, looking forward once again, Postrup back up to 9th, and I think that was Clays getting it a bit wrong over the curb, trying to find that inside line. It's cost him big time though. He's now down to 12th. He's lost a few positions from it as things begin to settle once again. But yeah, it's getting feisty here already. We're only on lap number 3, and well, we've got plenty more to come.
Yeah, this really surprising. People getting their elbows out very early on, and De Man, I think, has had another issue. Clays we saw nearly losing it through Tamburello, but just about kept it in a straight line, but lost I think 1 or 2 places because of it. And we're going to have a look at what happened to De Man again, as he really hasn't had a good start to this race at all, as this is down into Tamburello, going for an optimistic move into Tamburello, and just gets a tap behind. And I wouldn't really put that one on De Man. Possibly could have given the car on the inside a little bit more room, but I think he has been largely a bit unlucky so far in this race, as well. We've seen him compete in the official ARL Porsche Cup Championship before, and he looked very good in that. And also, here's what happened to Japan. I think it's just contact into... No, it wasn't just cold tyres. Tried to give it a boot full coming out of Tamburello. And, well, went for a spin and, well, was last, but now is in 18th ahead of De Man, as he really has had a dreadful start. As Erin Baba has currently just hit the fastest lap of the race. He was 2/10 quicker than Klopman on that last lap. So maybe Klopman using all of his pace a little bit too early on. And that's something you definitely do not want to do in these Porsche Cup cars, as towards the end of the race, the tyres will start to be a little bit on edge, and well, that could come back to bite him. And Baba looked a lot quicker than he did at the start anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we could see the comeback on for Baba. Of course, Klopman with the early advantage did manage to pull away by over a second. I think it may have even got up to nearly 2 at one point, but Baba slowly clawing that away and back into his clutches. You can see there the interval gap now just over half a second. Peter's just about a second behind this as well. So we will see, I would imagine, a battle for the lead then coming up, should the red Porsche of Baba slowly bringing Klopman in front. And of course Peters is very much in the hot seat for sort of watching this battle unfold, but at the moment still half a second as they now come down the hill after Variante Alta and towards the Ravazzas. Here comes the first one then, who's got it later on the brakes. Both of them looking actually pretty neat and tidy at the moment. Now Ravazza 2 on to the start finish straight, and Baba is going to get a big dosage of slipstream effect as they make their way onto this sort of back curve, really, if you like. It's not a full-on straight, but you are absolutely flat out. It's not tight enough to really slow these cars down. You're going to see them cut to the inside, try and shorten that line as much as possible, and they do get up to about 260 kilometers an hour. Yeah, that would be insane, wouldn't it? 600, my word. Breaking some land speed records if you were doing that sort of pace. But absolutely, they do get up there still in some pace, and yeah, now they're making their way through the Villeneuve chicane. I think Bubba's actually closed in a bit here.
Yeah, he really has. That last lap from Erin Baba was absolutely gorgeous, but it was also just a really poor lap from Klopman. And well, that was probably the issue. Klopman just had an awful lap. It was well, 4/10 slower than he was on the previous lap. And well, Baba just did near identical lap times and caught up by about half a second. And that's really paved the way for the rest of this race, as Baba's now right in the mix again into that slipstream, and he's bringing Peters along for the ride as well. So the top three, who so far this season have looked like the quicker drivers overall, shock, are still the current top three quickest drivers in the entire lobby. And it should be some good stuff to watch. I think Peters is just lacking compared to the front two, but definitely will give it a damn good go anyway. And this should really start to heat up within the next few laps. I don't think Baba is quite close enough yet to fully go for a move. Of course, it is quite a long main straight here at Imola. And yeah, it's not quite a straight either. It's just a slight right-hand and then left-handed curve as you go all the way storming down the main straight at about 260 kilometers an hour in these Porsche Cup cars. Definitely not 600. I don't even. I think some prop planes do that kind of speed. But here's Van Look looking for a move to promote himself back into the lead, into the amateurs, as Verstraeten got into the lead on that first lap and has stayed there so far. But doesn't seem to be making much inroads on the cars ahead. And it looks like it's just going to be a complete dogfight between Verstraeten and Van Look for the lead of the AMS, and that should really spice up the amateur championship as well. And I believe we have a crash for Philip Hartz at some point during the lap.
Here it comes then. What has happened to Philip Hartz? It looks to be on the exit of the Villeneuve into Tosa. I think that's where we are. Yeah, absolutely is. Getting a bit wide. Oh, just a bit too much for the rear to handle by the looks of it. It had some damage on the back of that car. I wonder if that was affecting the downforce a little bit. And we just saw how it all unfolded in the end. Went around a little half spin. He'll get back underway. But here, back to the action then for the lead of the amateur class. Verstraeten currently still ahead of Van Look. He's been that way ever since lap number 1. Well, he managed to get the move done in the early corners then of this race. Just about over a third of the way done now. Just under 20 minutes left to go, so he's still got a long way if he wants to try and defend it all the way to the very end, but that's something he may have to do because there's not really been that much to separate these two guys. Van Look is still, and no doubt continue looking for a move to potentially exploit and try and get that position back from Verstappen. We can see their last time by matching each other in terms of lap pace. And you can see there Verstappen's slight defensive line. It wasn't by much, but it's just enough that it could potentially cost him, because Van Look is very much up and under the bumper of that Porsche in front of him. Let's have a look now as they make their way through Villeneuve. Can Van Look get a slightly better run out of the exit of this corner? Not quite. I don't think he's going to have enough to get a look into Tosa. No, he's going to have to stay behind for the minute. Can he maybe get a better exit? No, it's still pretty much equal in that turn, as well as they're now up towards Piratella. At the moment, Verstappen's still in front of Van Look.
You really have to push the car a lot round here to try and gain on your opponents, as the dirty air is going to be affecting these cars slightly through the faster corners like Piratella and Acqua Minerale, and that just makes following the other car just a bit more difficult. And even if dirty air just didn't exist, following another car is taxing just mentally. It's quite difficult to do so, as you know, usually if you're all by yourself you can just focus on driving, hitting your marks. But with another car in front, you're trying to think, where can I go for the move? You're not focusing as much on your own driving, and it does just it promotes. It's just the difference between the pros and the AMs, really. And you'll definitely see the pros just biding their time, being a little bit more patient, and just waiting for those opportunities where you'll see the AMs potentially getting a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more feisty with one another. And you can imagine that's probably the case, as Van Look and Verstappen are very close on the track. But I don't think... Oh, no, never mind. Verstappen, I think, has made some kind of mistake. I was just about to say that I think Van Look didn't go for the move in the end, but I think Verstappen might have gone off at turn one. But here's Dupin trying to get a move done. Oh, that's an off track for... I believe that's Baez, who's just gone off at Tamburello. He cuts across the track as Dupin goes on ahead. That was Jacobs, my apologies, who was the driver. And that's Klotman. Something's happened to our race leader. He's tumbling down the order. And that looks to be at Piratella, one of the most difficult corners. As Baba as well has made a mistake, perhaps potentially getting caught up with Klotman, or maybe they collided. That's probably the best thing I can think of at the moment, as they're going side by side into Variante Alta. Not a corner really wide enough for two cars, and they make a slight bit of door-to-door contact as Baba just about sneaking ahead of Klotman. But I don't think the Dutchman's going to want to give that place up at all. I can imagine if there was contact at Piratella, they're going to be really, really angry with each other, as Klotman goes up the inside at Ravazza to promote himself back ahead of Baba. But that is a big, big incident and will have implications on the championship. And indeed, they look extremely close here up towards Piratella. A difficult corner to go for a move. And that could have been an airplane crash if they weren't careful. But Peters just... the gift of Santa Claus there. Peters has just gone right on by. Christmas has come early for the Williams Academy driver. And here is a replay, as they were just far too close to one another on that straight. And I've seen that happen a few times. We had it happen in the official ARL Porsche Cup Series as well. And, well, something else we know is these Porsche Cup cars can get a bit gluey. And, well, they're going side by side through here again. Oh, God, is it going to be a bit of PTSD for these two going side by side up towards Piratella? Is Baba going to try and go for this one? This time he doesn't. But oh dear, there's going to be a bit of tensions between these two now. You can definitely feel it. I wonder who will feel responsible for that. It looked like Klotman was kind of at the edge of the track. I kind of have to put that one on Baba if I was going to pin a blame on anyone. And we'll get one more look at it. I mean, look, he's literally on the grass nearly. And there was a slight bit of contact just before the right-hand kink, and that kind of pulled Klotman towards Baba, and it just resulted in huge contact. And that could have been a huge crash And very lucky both drivers are still in this race, to be honest. But that's rather spoilt our fight for the lead, as Peters is now 3 seconds up the road. And, well, like I said, he saw all of that happen, slowly went on by, and was probably laughing while it happened.
Yeah, he probably was laughing while it happened. Here we go, a view on board then for Peters. He gets to see it all unfold before his very eyes. There they go, off to the left on the grass, and now finds his way around the outside of Piratella. Slowed right down to make sure he didn't get collected in that as well. Nice, sensible bit of racing for Peters, and well, because of that, inherits the lead quite comfortably as well from De Paap in second and Van Hoyt third. And these two are actually having a little bit of a battle here then for those podium spots. But Klopman and Baba still very much in hot pursuit behind, and those two, of course, we've seen had some outright pace from the rest of the field, so maybe we can watch them climb their way back up. But it's going to be a bit of a tall order, because we are over the halfway mark now for this race, and it is quite difficult to overtake around here, as we have seen. Not many opportunities. Turn one and of course Tosa do spring to mind, but not very many others, potentially at the top here of the chicane of the Variante Alta, which they are making their way towards now. Klopman has very much closed that gap to Van Hoyt and De Paap here. I can only imagine he's going to be mounting an attack very soon indeed. And what happens in all of this is Peters is just going to want to scarper away and build as big a gap as possible to these guys behind.
Yeah, 100%. I think he'll hope that De Paap and Van Hoyt can keep Klopman and Baba at bay just at least for a few more laps, or ideally for the rest of the race. So in that second race, Peters could possibly be looking at a double tonight, as Peters doesn't have to push too much, as he knows the cars behind surely will be fighting at some point soon. De Paap and Van Hoyt, of course, looking for some podium places, and Klopman and Baba going to be driving a little bit aggressively to try and get back whatever they can from this race. It's just going to be damage limitation for them both, and I have a feeling, based on what I saw from that accident, that perhaps Baba might feel responsible for what happened, as he did wait for Klopman to go back ahead. But of course we'll try and get an answer out of both of them after the race with our interviews, of course. But this is just going to be a waiting game now, just waiting for these four cars to go at it with one another. And then oh god, it's going to kick off massively from then on in, as we've got about 11.5 minutes to go in this first race, and it's been very, very chaotic so far. But I think we're getting a slight break in the action now, and we can all just take a breather. The drivers can take a breather from the onslaught that has been this first 11 laps here at Imola. But if these guys can keep close enough through the last two Ravazzas, oh, it could kick off once again as we head into the first corner. They do look awfully close to one another. It will just depend on how good of an exit Van Hoyt gets out of the last corner. It looks to be fairly close, but not close enough. And it looks like Klopman is closer to Van Hoyt than Van Hoyt is to De Paap. So it could be the Dutchman going for that third place. And I wouldn't be surprised if Van Hoyt defends this one extremely hard. He is going towards the inside. Little bit of contact there. They've got to be careful. Klopman trying to go towards the outside. They're getting oh so close. But there just was not enough room there for Klopman to squeeze his Porsche Cup through. And it's still Van Hoyt holding on to that third place spot. And luckily didn't lose too much time from defending it as well. And we've also got this fight for P6 up behind as well, as that's super close into Villeneuve. Got to keep it clean, as this is Postrup and Colin going side by side for 7th place, and Postrup making his way past into 7th place, as that is Colin drifting his way through Tosa and still keeping it in a straight line. And everyone really getting their elbows out in this first race.
Yeah, they certainly are getting their elbows out, trying to get some good points on the board, and then they'll probably hope to replicate it for the second race to come. But yeah, Klopman, I thought might have actually got the move done, but I think brilliant defensive driving from Van Hoyt there using De Paap in front kind of to box Klopman in, so he had nowhere really to go. As yeah, we're riding here back on board with them, and Barber has just dropped off this battling free just for a moment. That could be a little bit of tyre saving, that could just be maybe a small mistake, and he's going to have to try and catch it back up. But here we go, round Rivazza 1 and 2 now, and on to the start finish straight. So we can see once again, are we going to get that big slipstream effect and maybe get a move down towards Tamburello? I think the gaps might be a little bit too large this time by as Klopman putting the windscreen wipers on there, trying to probably wipe away some of the sweat from his brow from this race, because if I was him and in his position, I would absolutely be sweating buckets, I can tell you that, because the pressure on some of these guys is absolutely massive. As we're going to get a replay here of what happened to Barber. It looks to be the Villeneuve chicane on the exit, looking pretty close to Klopman, goes down the inside for a move at Tosa, and they touch, little bit of contact, half spin there for Barber, and that's a big shame, because looked to be move was on, but I think Klopman just about slammed the door shut. I think that's all fair there, a little bit of door banging, that's a-okay in my book. But back on board with these three once again through Piratella, and there's not much separating them.
No, not at all. And well, Klopman and Barber have now made big contact with one another twice this race. I can't imagine tensions are going to be very well. And that is a slide for Van Hout, potentially losing him the momentum that he needs as Klopman tries to go around the outside at very anti-outer. That's a very risky move. And they both have to go so incredibly slow through there to try and keep on the track. And they've lost a huge amount of ground to the car in front, but Klopman is still trying to go for this one as we head into Rivazza 1. Bit of contact there, and Klopman just has to back out of it. It's allowed Barber right up behind them once again. He was about 1.5 seconds back. Now he's about a tenth back as he's looking at the back of Klopman for about the 1/1,000,000th time in this race, trying to go for the overtake. Is it going to end in contact for the third time between these two? Let's have a look as we head into Tamburello for the 14th time in today's racing. As they head into Tamburello for the first time, it doesn't end in a crash or a spin between those two. And Barber's gotten ahead of Klopman, and he's up into 4th place. And surely the Dutchman is going to be frustrated with himself that he made that too easy for Erin Barber. The championship leader is now up to 4th and looking ahead at Van Hout. He's trying to go up the inside into Tosa, but just was too far back as Van Hout has had to look in his rearview mirrors constantly for the last few laps. It's just attack after attack after attack as Klopman trying to go up the inside of Piratella, but again was just not close enough. And this just endless onslaught. It's like playing Call of Duty Zombies at this point. It just never ends. And they are just going at it over and over and over again. And this is going to be fantastic for the next about 6 minutes left in this first race.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 minutes is not a long time, but it might feel an age for Van Hout there, currently under the onslaught now of Barber in the red Porsche instead of the bright blue of Klopman, who's just dropping back here ever so slightly out of the Arianta Valta and into Rivazza 1 and 2. But that man, Van Hout, is made of some very stern stuff indeed. I don't know how he's been able to keep these guys both at bay for so long. But here comes Barber then, down the start finish straight, in the slipstream. He's going to want that inside line into the Tamburello chicane. He's managed to get alongside. They're wheel to wheel, door to door in the braking zone. Up the inside goes Barber. I can't imagine Van Hout's got much to defend, but he's going to try. He's still side by side then on the exit, and he's managed to stay ahead just about of Barber for 3rd position. It's that final podium, and this has allowed Klopman to close the gap back up, and he's within striking distance now of that red Porsche of Barber. We've seen him try to go up the inside a couple of times there. He's maybe going to switch tactics and go the long way round. No room though this time by, as he now gets a pretty good exit out of Tosa. Has he got the grunt to get alongside up the hill? We saw it all go wrong earlier on with him and Klopman. it's looking tantalisingly close once again between him and Van Hoyt now. He's very much all over the rear bumper of Van Hoyt. I'm surprised this man is still going with the nerves of steel that he must have with this onslaught of cars behind him. The front two are very much checked out and tried to run away, but my word, Van Hoyt, what a sterling effort at the moment. He's still going at it, but he is very much under hot pressure.
I think that's putting it lightly. I have not seen racing like this in so long. And the man is just keeping the places. That is Baba trying to go up the inside into Ravazza 1. He's just trying anything to try and get past the widest Belgium I've ever seen in my entire life. Van Hoyt is doing an absolutely incredible job, as he knows he is not quick enough to try and just fight this one properly. He's just defending for his life to try and keep Baba behind for as long as humanly possible, as he's blinking in and out of existence. And hopefully he's thinking, can Klopman try and get back involved in this and potentially pin a move on Baba and just make it even more interesting between these three drivers for that last podium place. As like you said, Ashley, the front two have just, well, they've just checked out. They've just run away with it, and it's probably going to stay like that for the rest of the race. Only 3 minutes to go then into this first race, and well, we're only in the first race. We've still got another one to go after this, and hopefully it should be just as good, if not even better, than the one we're currently watching, as this battle for P3 is absolutely incredible. I've genuinely not seen hard racing like this for so long, and it's so refreshing. These Porsche Cup cars are brilliant to watch, and it's just going to kick off all over again in probably a few corners time, and I cannot wait, as it's just going to be the last few laps, an absolute just onslaught, balls to the wall, just send it between these three. And well, who's going to come out on top? I honestly couldn't tell you. I would not be putting money on this race right now if I had the option, but damn, I will be gluing my eyes to my monitor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to put money on it, my money's on Peters, because he is the man out front. But I think, yeah, in terms of this podium, you're absolutely spot on. I wouldn't want to bet anything at this point, because I couldn't tell who's going to take it, because, you know, it could go either way at this very moment. Barber going to try it once again. Another move down towards Tamburello. That slipstream effect you can see in work there, as you then close up onto the car in front, just them pushing all of that air out of the way. And if you sit in behind them, you don't get that, you remove that wake effect, don't you? It does then of course have a double effect during the corners where you do lose some downforce, but along a back straight like that, or start finish straight should I say, it's very beneficial. Defensive goes Van Hoyt, and Barber's going to try and hang it round the outside. I don't think he's going to have enough grip or speed to do that there. Tosa, no, not quite. Van Hoyt's still ahead at the moment. That Porsche car in his hands is the widest thing I think I've ever seen. As Barber's now going to try it at Piratella. Slight contact, he's had to correct it, and this is going to give Klopman a chance. Now down towards Akmar Minerale. Down the inside goes Klopman. Barber down the outside still holds the speed and just holds the position as well. Klopman had a good chance there. It was such a shame he couldn't take the most advantage of it, because I think that's quite, well, it was probably one of the worst corners for that to happen, because it's so difficult to overtake at.
Yeah, it really is. And he nearly got it done, but just up the inside there, you lose a bit of entry speed. And unfortunately, just was not close enough. And potentially that mistake from Baba could be the lifeline that Van Hoyt needs as we head onto the white flag in this race. And Klopman, I've just noticed in these past few laps, he just doesn't look confident. He does not look comfortable in that Porsche Cup car at all. As on the previous lap before this one, he was doing a 45, which looks normal now. But of course, they all were fighting with one another, going at it very hard. And well, considering that Klopman's best lap is a 44.1, you can see where everyone is starting to losing time, and I'm guessing the tyre wear round here is a lot higher than I think some of us were suspecting. And well, on this last lap, those Michelin tyres are just giving up the ghost, as Baba has caught right up to the back of Van Hook once again. So, I mean, that just goes to show the pace that Baba does potentially have in that Porsche Cup car, but just can't deploy it fully. Because, like we said, he's got the widest Belgian Porsche Cup car in front of him that I've ever seen in my entire life. There's not too many opportunities on this last lap left for Baba to try and get onto that last podium spot. As Van Hook looks awfully shaky through Ackerman and Raleigh, is it going to be a move up the inside for Baba into Variante Alto? Wasn't close enough. And realistically, Baba has one more opportunity down into Ravazza 1 to try and gain that last podium place. I just don't think he's quite close enough, but he might just go for it anyway. And smartly, he chooses not to. So it's going to be Van Hook, probably, who will end up on the podium this for the first time this season. But it's going to be Vince Peters taking a race victory for the second time this season. What a drive from the William Esports Academy driver. Absolutely incredible. De Pat finishes in second. Van Hook does end up on the podium. Baba and Klopman fourth and fifth. And Van Look eventually gets the win in the amateurs, as he had a fairly simple race, to be honest, after the mistake for Verstraeten. But wow, what a race we had for the top 5, and especially for that third place. That was some of the best racing I've seen in a long, long time. And they kept it clean mostly, a little bit of contact here and there. But hey, a little bit of contact always makes a fight just that little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it's trading paint, isn't it? And in my book, trading paint is all okay as long as you don't take it too far. But yeah, brilliant race. What a fantastic result at the end for a lot of those guys, particularly the podium sitters, and of course Peters managing to win, as we just see a couple of replays there at the end. Some people just struggling to finish off this first race. 19 laps gone, but Peters coming out on top. And I think we saw De Pap there for second. Van Hoyt, of course, got that final podium position after what was probably the best defensive drive I've seen in many, many moons. Because my word, it was absolutely fantastic to see him being able to just not only race Barber, but hold him behind as well. And of course, Klopman in hot pursuit of that trio too. And I think maybe a couple more laps, and you would have maybe seen Postrup join the party as well, because he was gaining time and time again. But race number 1 is all wrapped up, as we will be returning very shortly for race number 2. Just a quick shout out though, we have been asked, of course, currently over at the Digitrax Discord, they have got a giveaway going. So if you want to get your hands on some brand new racing gloves from KGL Creation Labs, get over there and enter to give yourself a chance of winning a brand new set of their sim racing gloves. Of course, you need to be in it to win it, and almost like the race, I think Peters was very much in it to win it on that occasion. So well done to him.
Yeah, that was just superb from Peters. And I gotta say, and this is something that I think drivers always need to be commended on, was just his awareness when Klopman and I forgot the name now because I'm an idiot. Klopman and Baba, yeah, when they made contact, Peters was sensible and calm and patient and just waited for them to have their little incident. He slowed right down and went on by as well. He could have gone full speed through that corner and probably gotten himself involved in that accident. So he needs to be commended on that, because it's something that drivers should be commended on, and it's something that a lot of drivers struggle with. And you know, speaking from experience, sometimes you see an accident, you get a bit excited and just want to get past and gain as much positions as you can. But Peters saw it, was patient, just backed off and just let them have their incident, and then drove on by and didn't look back for the rest of the race, and finished about 4.5 seconds ahead of second place in the end. And well, that's going to be huge for his championship hopes, isn't it?
It certainly is. He's going to continue charging on forward. He's just got the win there. He got the win at the second race of Spa. So by the looks of it, he is on the up and charging forward. And fair play to him as well. It was very well coordinated, as you said. It's easy to get held, caught up, should I say, in those incidences when they occur. But no, kept a level head, kept it clean, and picked up the win because of it as well. So fair play to him. Brilliant drive. Not only from him, but from a lot of them out there. A lot of them kept their noses clean. We had the odd incident here and there, which was, of course, a shame. But, Barber and Klopman, not trying to name names, but they managed to collect it back up and get back into the race very quickly. So you've got to commend them on that as well, because it could have been so easy to just lose your head after something like that happening. And then you just find yourself, losing position lap after lap, corner after corner, of course, as your head's gone in a way. And it takes quite a strong willpower to be able to come back from something like that and just pick it straight back up. And those two did it brilliantly, I will say.
Yeah, they did. You could definitely tell there was a bit of tension between those two. And they were driving a little bit headless at times. I think Klopman was a little bit more calm than Barber, as Aaron just looked like he just wanted to be in front of everyone at every possible opportunity. And, well, he had insane speed, but just lacked the overtaking quality there, as I just think the incidents in that race maybe just got to his head a little bit too much. And this warm-up should hopefully just give everyone, especially those guys, just a few minutes to just take a bit of a breather, have a sip of water or whatever your chosen drink is. Hopefully non-alcoholic. I hope these guys are, not having a pint mid-race, as that could get a little bit awkward up front. But, maybe having some Red Bull or something to keep themselves pepped and get ready to go in race 2, as the first race looked like an absolute, it looked like last man standing, quite frankly, at times. And hopefully this second race will give some people some time to just take a bit of a breather. And while we let this warm-up go on, we can play a quick ad for you. So be right back.
Hello everyone, welcome back then as we get ready to start race 2 then here at Imola for round 3 of the Simwear Porsche Cup. You can see there the rundown of the grid once again if you forgot it from earlier. It's the results from the first race, I do apologise. Vince Peters will start at the front with De Paap alongside him, Van Hoyt third and Barber fourth after their monumental battle there at the end of the last race. Klopman fifth with Postrup alongside him for sixth. Mats Stratovic in 7th with Van Look in 8th, the first of the amateur runners. He made up a few positions and got past ahead of the pro of Colin, who starts in 9th right behind him alongside with Verstraeten in 10th. Soufreu is 11th with Clays in 12th as well. As we move to the next page then, Van Lipt is 13th with Deman 14th, Dupan 15th, Verhate 16th, Philippart 17th, Deckers 18th and Jacobs 19th at the back, as I think we're pretty much already go. Lights are out and away they are. Peter's getting a pretty good start then from those blocks, but that's a Very good start then from the man in second, as he's going to try and maybe sweep around the outside as everyone is fighting for position early on. Van Hoyt still in third there. Maybe we might see a repeat of what happened last race, because at the moment he is still ahead of Barber. Klopman fourth and fifth, as we then look back at Postrup, I think, who's managed to hang on to sixth as well. And then you do get a little bit of a gap here of what seems to be to the next part of the field. I think that's mainly the sort of amateur drivers just struggling to get away from the line with those cold tyres. But Peters, look at him go. What a start from that man, pulling away already.
Yeah, that is an absolutely insane start for Peters. And even though he didn't get off the line very well, De Paap was challenging him into turn one. De Paap's had an absolutely awful first sector, apart from that, as Klopman lost out to Postrup as well at the start, and now is trying to get back ahead, and this is going to be crucial for Klopman as well. He does not want to be stuck behind the Swede for not much longer than this, to be honest. But what a gap for Peters, 1.8 seconds already, and it's just going up with every corner. It's 1.9 now, it's just opening up for him, and that could already be Peters running away with it unless anyone can do anything about it. And I think the only two other drivers who've been close to Peters' pace today have been Baba and Klopman, so 2.1 seconds. This is a dream start for Vince Peters. That's absolutely huge. It's not even a gap we saw Verstappen open up in real life when he was dominating the sport. But here is Aaron Baba once again. Oh god, this is a bit of PTSD, a bit of deja vu, isn't it? He's stuck behind Van Hert once again, and he's going to try anything, maybe try a bit of a Ricciardo-esque move as Van Hert going into second place as De Paap opened up the door and was so vulnerable into there, and now it's Van Hert in second place. And well, if his defensive driving is going to be anything like we saw in the first race, that's him second place sorted. Done.
Yeah, that was a nice move indeed there from Van Hert. I think it was sort of a last-minute decision by the looks of things. He was mainly trying to defend from Barber, I think, behind, but saw the door, went for the gap and got the position as well. Fair players. I think Barber has managed to find his way past De Paap as well. And now Klopman, or is that Postrup? I'm trying to remember, lining up that fourth position as Peters is very much checked out already. Van Hert second, Barber third. De Paap is still in fourth in the yellow and black Porsche there. For the moment, he's having to do a bit of defensive driving here early on. He's lost 2 positions thus far, but there's still a long way to go. It is very early doors indeed. Only just 3 minutes gone, so still 27 left in this race as they now file their way towards Variante Alta, the top part of the circuit before you dip back down into the somewhat ravine. As we have a little look further back here, Dupin just being passed there by the blue Porsche in front now. That's P17, and that was Kevin Deckers managing to make the move for Digitraz Sim Racing. Lovely move there into the Variante Alta. He'll be very happy with that indeed. Maybe try and make a move. Oh no, never mind. He's got it wrong and found himself into the gravel, so Dupin will pick that position back up.
Yeah, it's a fairly easy mistake to make, to be honest. Ravazza can be a little bit of a tricky corner, especially hard on the brakes, but luckily these Porsche Cup cars are fairly difficult to lock up a front brake as they're so rear bias heavy. As Dupin makes his way on through, and it's just watching Deckers and Jacobs go wheel to wheel into Tamburello, and Deckers just about keeping ahead, but did have to go over the curbs to do so, and that's obviously not what you want to be doing. As Peters, obviously, still checking out in front, 2.5 seconds is the gap between himself and Van Hert, as Baba still looking at the back of Van Hert, as, well, he's just going to be more and more frustrated the longer he stays behind. But if Baba can get past Van Hert within about the next few laps, it could still be on for the race win, as we saw how quick Baba can be. And oh god, what's it going to be like when he's in clear air? As De Paap, we saw these opening few laps have not been too kind to him. That first lap he got overtaken by Van Hert, of course, and then Baba as well, just a few corners later. So he's down to 4th, losing 2 places. Postrup is still ahead of Klopman for the time being. And can Postrup get into the mix of this battle as well? He was a little bit too far behind in the first race to really have a good look. but now is in the driving seat to try and get involved, at least for 4th anyway. And some of the other drivers behind as well. Colin is not too far behind Klotman. And then, like you said at the start of this race, Ashley, the rest of the field kind of have some catching up to do in terms of pace. It's kind of like the top 7 or 8 drivers, similar-ish pace-wise. And then everyone else is just struggling a little bit as there goes Postrup trying to overtake DePapp. There's contact there, and that is going to allow Klotman. We're going 3 wide through Tamburello. This is not good, as that's super close between those 3 drivers, as DePapp has lost 2 places in 1 corner, excuse me, there, as Klotman now up to 5th. Postrup gaining up to 4th now. But the gap is just getting bigger from 4th to 3rd. It's about 2.1 seconds. And that is going to leave the podium spots up to Baba and Van Hert. And, of course, Peters up at the front, as these guys have just lost too much time fighting. And now it looks like it's going to be between Klotman and Postrup for 4th. And then, if Klotman can get past, can he show some of the pace he was showing in the qualifying sessions and in the early stages of race 1 and catch back up to the cars ahead? We'll see over the next few corners if he can make a move.
Yeah, no doubt he will if he can get by. I think that's going to be the challenge here. We saw Van Hoyt put up a stellar defence at the end of race number 1, and we can see him do it once again because Baba has still failed to be able to get past the Belgium, and I think Klotman is having a bit of a struggle here, potentially trying to get past Postrup as well. But if he can make that move and get by, we know he's got the pace in that car. The thing is that I'm worried about is I fear Peters, the damage may have already been done for these guys because they are unable to get past, and that means he's just able to pull away quite comfortably as well. And I did notice at the end of the race he was able to match Klotman and Baba in terms of sort of fastest lap. So we know he's got pace, we know he can compete with these guys, as Klotman, I think that's probably the easiest move we've seen of the evening before the braking zone, round the up the inside, of Postrup, and then of course easy on the brakes, and Klotman picks up 4th position. So now we can see, is he going to advance forward and catch up to Van Hoyt and Baba? The gap between Van Hoyt and Peters is already 3 seconds. That's going to be quite some gap to close up as the race goes on and on. We're coming up to the 3rd mark, which is about 10 minutes. Well, I say about, it is 10 minutes. Not far away from that now. And yeah, 3 seconds is already quite a big gap.
Yeah, we saw 3 seconds open up for him in that first race when they had their incident between Baba and Klotman, and he just pulled away after that. So could it be the same again for Vince Peters, or will there be some pressure if Baba can get past Van Hert for 2nd place? And of course, like we mentioned, Klotman has the opportunity as well, if he can show some pace, to try and catch back up to these guys. And it looked like Postrup just let Klotman go, as I think he thinks that Klotman will be able to catch up and possibly bring Postrup with him. So that's potentially a strategic move there, as Klotman has gained a little bit of time on these two on this lap, about 3/10 of a second. And if he can just do that every lap, keep chipping away until he gets back into the slipstream of the cars in front, that's going to be absolutely huge. But he does have to rely on Van Hert's defending skills, as Baba looks to be looking up the inside there. I don't know if he went for the move. He did, and Baba, I believe, made contact again with Van Hert. And I think Baba might start to gain an irrational hatred for Van Hert at this rate, as he just cannot get past him. No matter what he does, no matter how much quicker he is than Van Hert, he just can't do it. He cannot do it. And Van Hert is producing some amazing defensive driving. And, well, like I said before, even though he doesn't necessarily have the outright pace of some of the people around him, his defensive skills is what is keeping him in this race. And he's doing a damn good job of it and needs to be commended for it. And if he can do what he's been doing in, well, all of today in this race, well, P2 and P3 is going to just feel like an absolute dream for him. It might not be a race win, but I mean, the defensive driving, I mean, you know, the joke's been made probably to death at this point, but the Minister of Defence for Belgium has arrived, and he's currently sitting in second place. But will it carry on though? It's a long old race, this one, 20 minutes to go. And he's got a long time to defend from not only Baba, but Klopman making inroads. It's 1.3 seconds now. Klopman is catching, and Klopman had an absolute stormer of a last lap. He was 0.4 of a second quicker than the race leader. So the Dutchman is pushing like a madman to try and gain back on the cars in front.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. We might see the move from Barber. He's gone to that outside line. Can he get a wheel alongside Van Hout into Tamburello? I think he can. He switched up the strategy. Normally went for that inside, but the outside line has worked this time by. And he's ahead on the exit of Tamburello corner. Finally, he has managed to get the move done on Van Hout. The Minister of Defence for Belgium has finally been defeated. Maybe not enough money in the budget to keep Baba behind, because at last he has managed to get through and can now go chasing Peters for the win of this race. But Klopman, very much in hot pursuit. He was closing that gap time and time again. As we look here for a replay, you can see there in the slipstream, gaining, goes to the outside. I feel like he didn't have a choice. Van Hout chose the defensive line late on the break, sweeping around the outside. The advantage comes back to him for the second part of it and gets the move done. Brilliant overtaking there from Baba, but I will still commend Van Hout for his defensive strategies for race number 1, and of course here early on in race number 2.
Yep, he's finally been overtaken by Erin Baba. It's only taken him 1 race and 12 minutes to do so, but he has finally done it. And now it's Klopman's turn to see if he can try and gain a place on Van Hout. It's not a feat that many people can say they've done, but well, Erin Baba's managed to do it. Can Klopman now manage to do it as well? And if he can, that really should spice up things for second place and potentially first. Doesn't look like Van Hout's going to defend the inside line this time, and is going to let Klopman have the inside. It looks like Van Hout's defensive driving more or less has sort of come to an end, as that looked a bit simple for Klopman. And well, maybe Van Hout just has something against Baba. I don't know. It just defended incredibly hard against him. I'm not sure. But Klopman now up to third place. Baba is, of course, putting inroads to try and gain on Vince Peters, but 4.3 seconds. That's quite a big gap, and especially with only about 16, 17 minutes to go in this race. Even with the pace that Baba and Klopman have, I don't think they've got a damn chance of getting close to Vince Peters, not unless they start going 600 kilometers an hour, like you were mentioning earlier on.
Oh, you're not going to let that one go, are you? 600
Nope.
kilometres an hour. Nope, fair enough. I do not blame you. I'm sure some of these guys would love it if they could reach that speed. They'll definitely get past no hurry, in no time, should I say, at all. As we look here for the battle for 10th position, Van Straten still defending at the moment from De Man in 11th and Clays in 12th as they make their way up to the very outer chicane. And the Stratton still holding that for the time being, as we're going to get a replay here of what happened slightly earlier on out of the Villeneuve chicane there towards Tosa. Is this potentially a move from De Man? It is down the inside and looks to be gets the move done, but no, runs deep, and that just allows the door to be wide open for Van Straten to dart back up the inside and retake the position. That's a brilliant bit of racing there. Went for the move, didn't pay off, and Van Straten took it right back. So love to see that. I'd love to see more of it as well. But here we go then. Down the start finish straight. Van Straten 10th, De Man 11th, and Clays 12th. Clays closing and gaining on De Man in front. De Man's going to be late on the brakes. That's an optimistic move, but I think he gets it done. Yes, he does. Look at that.
Yeah, that was a late move there from De Man, but he managed to indeed get past Verstraeten and promotes himself up into 10th as he makes his comeback through the field. Currently gaining 4 places in this race so far, as that is Clays trying to go for a move on his teammate for second place in the AMS and for 11th overall. but just was not close enough there through Tozer, as Verstraeten, of course, was momentarily leading in the AMS in that first race, but made a mistake and allowed Van Look to go on past and hasn't really been able to compete with him since, as Van Look has just looked the best driver by far in the AMS in today's racing. Apart from that little blip on the first lap in race 1, he has looked majorly quick and is even competing with some of the pros in this race, and has absolutely just shown why he is one of the top drivers in the amateur class and potentially moving his way up to the pros in the near future. And let's not do any commentator's curse, as he nearly lost the back end there through a Fatsa one. I have had too many experiences in the last few months of talking good about drivers and then they immediately bottle it, so I really hope that doesn't happen again. But he looks to be going good nonetheless, as Klopman now sets the fastest lap of the race, as he is right up Baba's back bottom and has really closed in on him very quickly, and Baba not really being able to show the pace that we thought he had.
I don't think it's not showing the pace. I think it's the fact that I saw at the end of last race, Peters has pace, and all right, he was sitting third until these two had a bit of a coming together, but he's shown that he is capable of keeping up with them, and in this case he's got that gap, he's out in front, so he's just matching them, and I don't think they're able to really close him in, and if they are, it is very little, bit by bit, so it's not going to be enough, I don't think. But this is a bit of role reversal here. Bubba is the lead car, Klopman is following very closely behind, so he's going to have to try and pick his way past Errand here for P2 in this race. He's closed the gap, but now he's got the next challenge of actually getting past, which is so much harder to do, especially around a circuit such as Imola here. It is quite tight and narrow, and overtaking is not the easiest thing. Of course, your best chance is still down at turn 1 of Tamburello, or potentially at Tosa, the hairpin at the far end of the circuit, but rounding Ravazza 1 and 2 now. I wonder if Klopman can get a good exit here and maybe have a chance at Tamburello at the end of this start-finish straight. The gap between Peters and Baba is slowly closing, but not by massive amounts. Here we are on board with Klopman closing. Is he going to pick away? Last minute goes for the outside line. Can he be now later on the brakes? Barber's definitely going to defend it as best he can, and he does very well indeed. Holds on to P2 as we now on the run towards Villeneuve. The next chicane on this circuit, not really the best overtaking spot, but you catch a car unawares, potentially can make a lunge, and then Tosa the corner after. I don't think he's going to be close enough here as we jump back to Anton Depan for 14th position. These two going side by side through Tamburello themselves. He's having a good ding-dong battle here with Bayhet, I believe, if I'm reading that correct. Sorry, it's Sofreo for 14th. I think he's just managed to get the move done on Depan.
Yeah, Kevin just made an easy move there on Depan into turn 1. Looked fairly simple. Bit close for comfort between those two. But Baba, again, I thought he would have had at least more pace than Klopman. But maybe Klopman was just holding back in the last part of the first race. And was just taking a bit of a calm and easy approach after the chaos that he had. And now, in this second race, is really pushing the limits of this Porsche Cup car. And definitely looks like the quickest driver out on track. He has the fastest lap of the race of the moment, and on that previous lap I kind of noticed that if you're going to pick the outside line going into Tamburello, you kind of have to be side by side with your rival if you want to make that move succeed. But the inside line, you can kind of send it. Is he going to now? He's going to choose to do so, but isn't late enough on the brakes to try and go for it. But Baba did leave him the room just in case. But Klopman was just about a car length too far back to really put enough pressure on Baba, as they now go wheel to wheel into Villeneuve. You were just talking about it's not a corner. You've seen many overtakes on. Are we going to see one here? No, not this time round. Baba's going to defend the inside line into Tosa, as a look at that, that's Van Hut looking for a potential move in this one as well. But here we go then, just settling down in the middle part of this lap. But I was very surprised that Klopman tried to go for a move round Villeneuve. It really is possibly the worst corner, apart from Acqua Minerale. To try and go for a move is no matter what line you choose to overtake on it just isn't going to work. It's so difficult unless, like you said, Ashley, you're catching another driver unawares or potentially they've made a mistake. But Klopman just has to bide his time. He's got about 9.5 minutes left in this race. He doesn't have to push as hard as he is right now. And maybe he can just take a few laps to cool everything down and make sure he doesn't overheat those tyres, as it's something you can very easily do in this Porsche Cup car.
Yeah, it is something you can easily do. You're quite right. Maybe he was trying to catch Barber unawares. You know, those two very clearly matched in terms of pace. As we're having a quick look on board here with your race leader, Peters, still out in front by some 5 seconds now, so that gap has slowly been going back up, and he's been taking it quite comfortably, I would say, very much from lap number 1. You already had that 2-second advantage at the end of lap number 1, so hasn't been under pressure ever since, and he's probably very thankful for it, especially when you've got these two right behind you, Barber and Klopman, still going at it harder than ever, trying to get the advantage over one another to make a move, make the position. At the moment, Barber still with that advantage as Klopman going for that inside line, maybe trying to scare him into Tosa just a little bit. Again, catching him unawares, maybe trying to put him off here and there, because it's those sort of psychological tactics that can sometimes win you the day. And Klopman does seem to be employing some of those strategies. Was that a puff of smoke in the background I saw? It may have done, I'm not too sure, but either way, Klopman still very close behind Barber then through Acqua Minerale. As Aaron said, not really a chance to overtake there, but we are coming up to one at the Ariantavalti. You really do need a good exit though of Minerale. And I don't think Klopman is going to have that this time by ear, as they skip over the chicane. Lovely little angle there. If we see another car come through, here he comes. Hey, absolutely brilliant, up and under the car. Good stuff. But at the moment, still all line astern. Barber second, Klopman third, and Van Hoyt and Postrup still in hot pursuit of those two.
Yeah, I definitely think my prediction of this race being a little bit more tame than the first one was definitely right. I think this one, everyone has just found out that, you know, if you race constantly wheel to wheel, aggressive all the time, they can bend in tears, and for some drivers in that first race it did. Is Klopman close enough here? He's looking up the inside, but I don't think that's going to be a serious challenge, and it's not on this lap anyway. And Klopman just needing that extra car length heading out of Ravazza 1 to be close enough to Aaron Barber to go for that move. And, well, this is just going to be a strategic mind battle over these next 6.5 minutes. As, don't count out Van Hut. He's just been there this entire time, just lurking, waiting for these two to go wheel to wheel, potentially have a bit of contact. And I think Klopman might actually be close enough to go for a move into Piratella. He has gone for it. Baba trying to keep it around the outside, but it hasn't worked. And Klopman there, very opportunistic move as Van Hut tries to have a look, but just wasn't close enough. But Klopman there, very smartly placed. It didn't look like he was going to go for it, and then just went for it into Piratella. And I don't think Baba was expecting him to do that. And he's gotten back into second place, and that is very good for the Dutchman.
Absolutely, here we go, instant replay then. Klopman down the inside of Piratella, and I don't really think Baba had an answer to that one. Had the racing line, did Klopman, and very much took it. Thank you very much, I will see you later, he's probably saying to himself. A good move though, and not a corner you see a move being made on very often, so lovely to see it being done there and then. But he's now going to be looking in those wing mirrors, because he has got that bright red Porsche filling them as they make their way down towards Tamburello corner. Baba is going to have to maybe go for the outside line, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near to mount an attack this time by Klopman. very much under control of that one. But Van Hoyt, like you said, he's just lurking in the background. So is Postrup. All it takes is one small moment, like we saw in race number 1, and those two could come through quite easily and pick up any positions that potentially are up for grabs. I've got to imagine though, and I've got a feeling these guys would have wised up to that this time, but they don't want to throw away easy podiums and points like that.
No, they definitely don't. And considering how many times Klopman and Baba have come to ending each other's race, I think it's smart if they both just take it a bit easy for these last 4.5 minutes. As we can take a look at some battles going on further back, as Van Look and De Paap are fairly close to one another. De Paap has had a bit of a poor second race this time. That first race, of course, was just a dream for him. Got that second place. This time just hasn't quite had the pace and just has fell down the order. And this is what happened to Demand. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a lock-up going into Ravatsa 1. And I think he just went too wide into the entry of that corner. Caught the outside grass and locked a rear tyre. Managed to keep it on, barely, but just about. As Van Look getting awfully close to De Paap. This could be a potential move for Van Look as we head down the main straight for, I think, the third to last time. Of course, my math skills maybe being slightly off there, but it's just a guess at this point. As Van Look gaining ever more with that power of the slipstream. Is he going to go for it this time? No, he is not. Just going to sit back and be patient, as his opportunity will probably eventually come. As further back, this is Philip Arts and Clays going wheel to wheel into turn 1. Philip Arts round the outside, and that one looked fairly textbook for the number 29 as he promotes himself up into 12th place. And everyone in these last few laps just getting those final few moves in to gain those last few championship points that they need.
Absolutely, it is crunch time now, so all the pressure is on to try and get yourself as far up the leaderboard as you can. You've put all the hard work in, you've now just got to finesse the rest. But I think your maths, Aaron, is always going to be better than mine. 600 kilometres, quite hard to top that one. But either way, we're looking now into the final few minutes then of this race. Klopman still second, Peters out in front by some margin, still that 5-second gap. Barber third, Van Hoyt fourth, and Postrup fifth. And that not top three, second to fifth is the battle you're looking at right now. And it's one of those battles, once again, anybody could really pick it up. It just takes one false move from one of these guys, and you could easily end up at the front in second.
Yeah, definitely. It just takes two drivers being just a little bit too aggressive, or just one driver making a silly mistake and holding up the rest of the field, and then, someone who's a place or two or three even behind can just swoop on by, take all of those positions away from you, and it will just be absolute pain to watch it. Porsche could be in a good position right now if that does happen. Van Huss as well. But onto the penultimate lap we go then. This is going to be the second to last lap. The next time we cross the line is going to be the white flag for Vince Peters and the rest of the field. And, well, I don't think Vince Peters thought today was going to be as easy as it has been. But, wow, just dominant performance by Vince Peters. And even with Klopman and Baba being in second and third right now, they are not matching Vince Peters' pace at all at the moment. So he has very much been the absolute class of the field. Not only in this race, but of course the first race where he got into the lead after that crash between Klopman and Baba and just ran away with it and never looked back. It's been a perfect drive for him. Minimal mistakes, keeping it on the road, keeping it on the lines, and he will take a double race victory if he can keep it all together as we head through Ravatsa 2 for the second to last time. As we come onto the main straight, Vince Peters will see Barney waving the white flag on the right side of the track. There he is, good old Barney, the iRacing marshal. waving the white flag, the famous man there. And I don't think we're really going to get a last lap battle between these two. They just do not look close enough.
I think you could be right. I mean, it all comes down to holding on to your nerves, soaking up all the pressure. You've got one lap to go now, and it is going to be, you know, of course, making sure you reach the checkered flag first of all, and, you know, as high up as you can, the better. As we looked there at the battle between Depat, Van Look, and they're back on board here with the front lot for the podium spots. Peters checked out very much from lap 1, but Klopman and Bubba here still potentially a few positions on the cards for these guys, and it does only take one small lapse of concentration and they could find themselves off the circuit and tumbling a bit down the order. I'm more interested in Van Hoyt and Postrup behind. Those two look very close indeed, but either way, only a few more corners to go now through Aqua Minerali for the last time and up to Variante Valta as well. And here we are on board then with Postrup right up on the bumper of Van Hoyt. We know how wide he can make that Porsche. We've seen him do it race number 1 and also at the beginning of this as well. Klopman and Barber did struggle to get through, but only a few corners to go. Ravazza 1 and 2. I think Peters is already crossing the line, not quite. There he is on the exit of Ravazza number 1 up to the start finish. It's been a perfect week. Well, it's been a perfect evening here for Peters. He's picked up both race wins, maximum points in that aspect. I think he won't get the fastest lap, but I don't think he'll be too bothered by that. Klopman second, Barber is third, Van Hoyt fourth as Postrup comes into pit lane. What's going on there? He's dropping down. He's finished 8th in the end. Colin 5th, Depap 6th, Van Look has picked up 7th because of that. Postrup 8th position. He went into the pit lane. Very odd indeed. Satovic 9th, Deman rounds out your top 10. Verstretten is second for the amateur class. Of course, Van Look took the win there as well. Second win of the evening for him. Clays, Philipparts, Dupan, Behait, Van Limpt, Deckers. I think Sofreo and Jacobs was out there, I could see, in 19th. So yet he did not finish the race, unfortunately. Still only a couple of drivers left to go here. But Aaron, what did you make of that one? It's a bit more relaxed than the first race, shall we say, but still provided some good action as well.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you on that one. It's just was a little bit more tame, a little bit more calm. I think everyone after that first race had kind of realised, yeah, this is getting way too hairy. And although it was still chaotic, still provided some good racing, it was nowhere near what we saw in that first race. But oddly, ended in a very similar way with Peters on top in the pros, and I was just having a guess as to why Postrup went into the pits, and I am indeed correct. Looks like he's gone over the incident limit, got a drive-through penalty, and tried to go through the pit lane to serve it, but of course that doesn't work on iRacing. You cannot serve a pit lane penalty on the last lap. It just will not count. So he went into the pit lane basically for no reason, and ended up finishing 15th in the end because of that penalty. So that's really unfortunate for the Swede, who had such a good race. He was in 5th and fighting nearly for a podium spot. That's really unfortunate for Postrup, as brings a bit of a sad end to what was a pretty good day for him. But the rest of the field, yeah, what a day of racing, especially that first race. I will remember that one for a long, long time. That was some of the best racing I've seen in a while. And I'm going to miss that I'm not doing this series full time. That's quite frustrating.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there, Aaron. I'm kind of upset now that I don't get to return here in a few weeks' time for the next round, because it's been an absolute delight being here doing this with you. It's been fantastic racing on the circuit, door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel action. As just looking here at some replays then from the start of the second race, you can see there Peters already pulling out that gap, and just kept going on and on and on until he saw the checker flag. Never looked back after it, really, did he? As he took a barnstorming victory. Well done from him there once again. And I will give another shout out then to the Digitrax Discord or Digitrax Challenge as well. If you want to get in a chance to win some sim racing gloves, get over there and enter the giveaway, and you could win yourself a pair. But there we are, results from race 2. Vince Peters is your winner for Williams Esports Academy. Klopman managed to get second and Bubba third, rounding out your podium. Colin, De Pat, Van Luk, Stratovic, Deman, Verstraten, Clays are your top 10. And then Philip Hartz, Van Hoyt, Dupan. Yeah, you saw Van Hoyt. Sorry, not Van Hoyt. He's finished 12th. What's going
he
on
got
there?
A penalty as well.
Maybe he's got something as well. That's shaking things up again for us here. But yeah, penalty there for Van Hoyt. Finished 12th at the end. That's a real shame. Dupan and Postrup, we just found out about finishing 15th as well down the grid. Van Limt, Sefreo and Deckers there rounding out your full grid. Brilliant stuff from all of the guys out there on track, as now we can get into some of the meat and vegetables of this evening, get some interviews going with some of these guys. Aaron, did you want to take the first one? We've got Peters or we've got Klopman in the interview waiting room. Who would you like to talk to first?
Well, I think, Josh already pulling up the thing there for Vince Peters. Well, you guessed right, Josh. I do want to talk to Vince Peters. Hello, Vince. Well, I mean, what is there to say? 2 race victories tonight. It looked absolutely easy for you. I mean, sure, that first race, you had to get a bit lucky with the contact in front, but that race 2, you just ran away from everyone and didn't look back. It must have been a bit boring up at the front. And just talk us with how you're feeling. Vince?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah, kind of surprised that I won because I didn't have the time to practice for this race and I just jumped in and it went quite well. I know Imola well, so that helped. But yeah, in the end, I was getting tired. I took a slowdown last lap because I was just dreaming. I had a real life 24-hour race last weekend and that definitely took a hit on my sleep schedule.
Yeah, we can imagine so. And yeah, did hear about that. And well, it was a bit unfortunate that you couldn't end up finishing that race. But I can imagine doing 24 hours in a Citroen C1 is an interesting experience. But I mean, talk us through Imola then and tonight's racing and just how difficult is it in this car and track combination? And how difficult was it to just keep it on the road here?
It was okay. Like this car in iRacing, it can just eat the curbs like it's nothing. So you can just jump over them, and it's quite a stable platform. So that was okay. And yeah, I just took it easy. I had the luck of not getting involved in the incident between Koen and Arendt because I was just off pace in the first race, and I had to try hard to keep up. And then I guess I got lucky because of that, because they yeah, you know what happened? They crashed. So and then the second race, the pace was better. I was in the rhythm. I took a good start. I took the opportunity of having 2 drivers behind me that were not on the pace like we were, and then yeah, I could make a gap, and from that point on, I could just drive away.
Yeah, it did look fairly simple for you in the end. And well, moving away from Imola now, we've got Hockenheim, I believe, as the next round in this Porsche Cup series, and that should be a little bit more of a friendly track to the rest of the field. How are you feeling for that one?
Yeah, Hockenheim is also one of my favorite tracks, so definitely feeling good. And I think now, yeah, I missed the round 1, but so this round is very welcome, so I can get a good points haul, and then I hope I can do the same at Hockenheim.
Yeah, here's hoping as well. Well, thank you for coming, having a quick chat with us, Vince. But before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick mention or shout out to?
Well, yeah, because he provided me with a setup that was very handy, so I didn't have to do all that work to get a good setup. And yeah, my team, Williams Esports. Thanks.
Well, thank you for coming and having a chat with us, Vince, and good luck for Hockenheim in a few weeks' time.
Thank you.
Lovely, thank you for that one, Aaron. Vince Peters there, your race winner. Some lovely words from him. And yeah, once again, congratulations. Well done on his result. We have Klopman in the waiting area. Why don't we get him in and have a bit of a word with him? Hello, Klopman. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Race number 1, race number 2. I mean, overall this evening, how do you feel it went for you?
Well, could be better. Good evening, by the way. Yeah, race 1 was a shame. I mean, Airwind came really close. I was already on the grass. I had to turn, and well, we just made contact, and I think it was completely avoidable. But yeah, it was a shame because it really wrecked my first race. My tires were cooked after that, and yeah, from all the door banging, I got really high incident points, so I couldn't really push towards the end of race 1.
Yeah, understandable stuff. I mean, if you felt maybe that didn't happen, did you feel in yourself your ability that you could have maybe pushed for the win?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, race 1, Airwind was a bit quicker, I think. I couldn't really get into a rhythm. But race 2, definitely. Like if I get like a higher starting grid position, then it would have been possible, sure.
Yeah, I mean, you were looking very quick through both race 1 and race 2. It was obviously a bit unfortunate with the contact. I mean, you know, mentally coming back from that, do you do any sort of specific, I guess, training, if you like, to try and bounce back? Because you did come back immediately, and I didn't feel it really affected you in terms of pace. A lot of guys, they struggle to pick it straight back up.
Well, for sure, it's getting into your head a bit, but like there's a certain determination, like getting to the front, and when you have some experience, you know that it's not handy to go pushing like crazy, but just like keep your focus, hit your braking points, and especially in the warmer weather with race 2, you really have to focus and just keep calm, and then the pace will come.
Absolutely right. Wise words there, I would say as well. Brilliant stuff. Hockenheim is your next round. How are you feeling for that race coming up?
Pretty good. I really like this track, and I really like Hockenheim, so I think I'm good.
Lovely stuff. Well, hopefully we'll see the pace once again next time in Hockenheim. Last thing from you then, Klopman. Any thanks or mentions or shout-outs you'd like to give?
Well, thank you to my competitors. I mean, it was great racing. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting. And yeah, that's it.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, well done again on your racing. Brilliant to have you in here. Thanks, Klopman.
Thank you.
Right then, Aaron, we have one more in the waiting area for an interview. Maybe we can try and figure out who this is. I'm not quite sure in terms of the name who this could be. Should we figure it out?
Well, I have just done some digging, and it looks to be Van Hut, who will be joining us. Welcome to the interview box, Van Hut. It was not an easy day for you at all, in fact. I mean, race 2 didn't end exactly the way you wanted. I believe you got a penalty in the end. But that race 1, I was saying it on the broadcast, is some of the best racing I've seen in a long, long time. And you ended up 3rd because of it. Just talk us how you're feeling after tonight's racing.
Yeah, first, hello everyone. It was a very fun first race. I had a lot of pressure due to the 2-man that was at my back. But it was really fun racing. And I tried to defend my life to keep this podium, but it was really, really hard. But yeah, on the second race, I had a contact with post-trip, I think, and on the last chicane, so yeah, I took the black flag because I had 13x, I think. So yeah, bit disappointed for that, but it's a game, so I couldn't change that.
Yeah, a bit of a shame about the penalty in the end, but I mean the racing that you provided, the defensive driving. Did you think that you were going to be able to keep that third position in that first race? And just talk us about like your mindset, because surely the amount of pressure must have been getting to you at some point.
Yeah, it was fun. Of course, I had a lot of pressure, but I know that on this track, if you are in front, you have an advantage. So I really want to keep those guys behind, because I know that if they manage to pass me, I will not have the chance to pass them again. So yeah, I really try to defend a lot to keep this podium, and yeah, it was very fun and very clean. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, it did look like a lot of fun between you and the other drivers around you. Well, going into the next race in a few weeks' time, we've got Hockenheim coming up. Is that a track you're very fond of, or is it one that you're dreading a little bit?
Yeah, it's a track that I really like, and I also played this track in the qualifying of the PASC. So I already trained a bit, but yeah, it's a track that I really like, because I can do a lot of nice battles. So I hope to do a nice result there.
Oh, we hope to see another good race from you there at Hockenheim in just a few weeks' time. And well, thank you for coming, having a quick chat with us, Van Hertz. And before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick mention or shout out to?
Yeah, I would like to thank my team. I'm very proud to be part of this team, because it's really nice people around there. So yeah, I would like to dedicate my race to them.
Well, I'm sure they'll be very proud of your performance out there today. You look like an absolute hero defending that P3 in that first race. But thank you for coming and having a chat with us, and good luck for Hockenheim in a few weeks.
Thank you.
Lovely. Well, I don't see anybody else in the interview waiting area, so I think that pretty much wraps things up for this evening. Aaron, brilliant having you along here alongside myself. It's been brilliant having you by my side, if you like. Any final words from you?
Well, I'm just gonna miss this series, and well, whoever's, I think it's Matthew and someone else who does this series normally. But so those two people that are doing this series, it's Sam that does this series as well, I'm being told. But so those two, just keep this one by your side, because I've enjoyed this one a lot. It's been really, really fun to watch, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Ashley. It's been amazing from start to finish, and I think Hockenheim will just be as insane as this one was.
Yeah, I could not agree more with you, Aaron, in all honesty. Yeah, I hope they do hold this one close and dear, because if they don't, I'm not far away, and I'm sure you aren't either. But that is all from us here this evening for round 3 for the Simwear Championship here in the Porsche Cup class. We look to Hockenheim then 2 weeks' time on the 4th of November. Hopefully we'll all see you there once again for the next exciting round of this championship. But that is all from me. I've been Ashley Denman. Alongside me has been Aaron Smith. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.